My humble advice to every African parent living in Europe is this: if your kids are not yet 20 years old, send them to Africa to learn manners, a proper upbringing and education. Until they are 30 years old, then they can rejoin you here in Europe. This is why I decided to say this. Regarding my first post I did yesterday concerning having children in Europe is a waste, I got some comments which I was very thrilled and impressed by. The first comment I got was from Miss Kenya 1900. She said, "That is why I took my daughter back to Kenya boarding school."
We have really bad news. United Kingdom is cancelling visas for the family members. It means if you, in the past, were going to study in England and you would want to bring your children or your spouse, you can forget about it, unfortunately. UK is cutting down on the family reunion visas. And that's a big shock, because normally what students would do is they would come to study full-time and their dependent would come learn the language and work full-time to make sure that the family can move together. It's not possible anymore. But the good news is that luckily there is always an alternative. Because of Brexit, the education in UK has been really chaotic. So we found out different solutions, different other countries where you could go, where the family would still be accepted. For the solution, you need to watch the video number 2.
Here we are again, another story, same situation, same outcome. A Nigerian single mom of 4 children has been deported from Germany. This happened in Agoyo, here in Bayern, where this woman, she's a Nigerian single mom, an asylum seeker, and she has been deported from Germany because of a crime that she committed. So allegedly, I don't know if it's true, but this is just based on reports on what I've seen on social media and from what I've heard people talk about. This woman is an asylum seeker and she has 4 children. And as an asylum seeker, we all know what comes with that, right? She has the benefits that the government is giving her for her children and for herself. So with her 4 children, we know how much she's receiving, more than 2,000 euros she's receiving. And instead of you as a mom to stay, if maybe you don't have work permit for you to look for a job, it's understood. That's why you have these benefits. Stay and focus, learn your German language, let your children go to school, and everything being equal, it's a win-win situation for you. You said no, it's not enough. This woman went out and she's doing shoplifting. She went and she's doing shoplifting. I don't know if it's the first time she did it or she has been doing it several times, but she got caught. And I don't know if allegedly she's been deported based on this reason of shoplifting, but she and her 4 children were packaged all together and deported back to Nigeria. See, we know Germany is difficult. We know that the bureaucracy in Germany is crazy. A lot of things happen in this country. But again, I'll always say it, when it comes to social benefits, Germany is doing way too much. Germany is doing great. And if we keep abusing this system of the German government, it will keep backfiring back to us. And sometimes when we see deportations happen, a single mom of 4 children has been deported, this person has been deported, we go on our emotions and we start criticizing the government. But we fail to understand that sometimes when these things happen, don't only look at the government, look at the individual who is involved. What has the individual done that has gone against the law? They cannot just get up and deport you for no good reason. You have stayed here for years, they have allowed you to stay, and they are giving you money for free. This is enough reason for you to know that you are welcome. And you are going around and you are doing shoplifting, you're stealing. Maybe it's not the first time, maybe you have done it 1 or 2 times, and they'll be accumulating reports of you. And this time around, they can't take it anymore. So please, asylum seekers, if you come in here with your child, you seek for asylum, stay low, do your things quietly, get what you want, and respect the law. Say no to crime. Stop committing crimes in Europe, especially asylum seekers. No.
Joining my elementary school, I came to learn about a country called United States of America. I came to learn of a country called London. I knew UK was called London back then, Japan, all that. I always wished how much I would have gone there. That's how much I always wished. As a child, you are told, particularly as an African child, you are told that is the place you should work hard and go and live. So I had this magnificent image of the UK, of the US, of Europe, any place outside Africa I thought was the best place. And I always thought my African country was the worst. Little did I know, I was a child and my brain was just being bombarded with nonsense. My parents, I think they were telling me this with an innocent, with really a good motive. Of course, they are parents and you are a child. They have nothing against you. Up to now, and they'll even show you examples of people who have made it to the UK, to the US, any other country outside Africa. They'll tell you, see, such and such, work hard and go to those countries such as that person. So you are comparing yourself with that person, but you really don't know what this person is really experiencing, where they are. This is the part our parents never told us. There were struggles that Africans pass through in Europe or outside Africa, because Africa is the only country, or is the only continent rather, that would accept black person as one of its own. If I go to Uganda, I will not be seen as a Kenyan. I am an African, I'm a Ugandan while there. But with my black skin, take myself out here, outside there, be seen as a black person, as a black human, as a substandard human. But in Africa, that does not happen. Many people are struggling so much so that their children should go to Europe and their children should go to the US, Asia and all that. But today we have a different story to tell. Now there's this young man who is a Nigerian. He's warning parents not to advise their children to move to the UK, to move to Europe, to move to the USA. This is the video I want us to watch, and then by the end I shall give you my thoughts, where we shall also have deep critical analysis. So let's dive in.
This is why I decided to say this. Regarding my first post I did yesterday concerning having children in Europe is a waste, I got some comment which I was very thrilled and impressed by. The first comment I got was from Miss Kenya 1900. She said, "That is why I took my daughter back to Kenya boarding school." That was her comment. And I replied, I said she made a good decision and she is a wise woman. And she replied again, now she for that, but she got the best education which she could have not achieved here because of company. Thanks for your piece of words or advice. And somebody came again and wrote in German by Halima Ibrahim. She said, I will translate it in English. She said, is noch jung, zu lernen. Die Mutter sollte ihn einfach nach Afrika schicken, zu Familien, bis 18 Jahre ist. That means, she said, the child is still very young to go to Africa to learn until he is 18 years old. And then, Kalistukum also commented, I was telling this for a long time. Children need to be sent to Africa until they reach adulthood. The system is created to, the children. So that was the comment I got. You can read the comment on the top of this video. So let's go back to our topic of today, which is my humble advice to parents, African parents living in Europe. If your kids are not yet 20 years old, send them to Africa to learn manners, a proper upbringing and education until they are 30 years old. Then they can come back to Europe. One of the reasons is this. The gadgets these children use in Europe, the phones, the TVs, these devices, retard their speech and cognitive development of the kids. What is broadcast on the media tremendously affects the broadcast area in the brain, which is located at the left hemisphere of the brain. This part of the brain is associated with speech, production, and articulation. Our ability to articulate ideas as well as use words accurately in English and written language has been attributed to this crucial area. That is why the gadgets these children use in Europe, they destroy their ability to speak eloquently, to learn the language eloquently. And second of the point is that they feel so lonely and depressed. More than 19% of African kids born in Europe have these speech retardation problems. I will not talk much on this, but my advice to every African parent is that when you are about to and take into any, don't go there alone. Make sure you are accompanied by a trustworthy family member. This is to those or for those who understand what I am saying. They talk with a lot in Europe. They do all of this to slow the academic progress of our kids and also to create jobs, for the kinder arts or the pediatricians or the children's doctors. They experiment a lot on our and the black. 3. Most children born and bred in Europe turn out to be school dropouts academically and unproductive. They always end up doing vocational trainings, which is always, reserved for the unbright kids in schools. Number 4, Europe most especially has many unskilled jobs than skilled jobs. So it is a measure, they are using in order to drift our kids into vocational trainings by discouraging them in their academic pursuit, making them feel stupid, dumb, and dull, and they will end up giving up on their general education and pursuing vocational training, thinking they are not fit for general education. 5. All the office jobs are already being occupied by origin or with the by origin. This is a new slavery of mental manipulation, where we deliberately accept the position of a slave-master relationship because they have made us feel so. 6. Our kids are in a confinement which is similar to a dog's cage. That is why they are always hostile and aggressive. The pushing of kids on kindergartens or kid strollers disconnect the parents to the child contact, which enables them to dissipate excessive charges and energy in them. How often do you carry, your child, if I may ask you a question, when they are still babies in Europe? On rare occasions, but the skin-to-skin parent-child contact helps the kids as well for their development. Again, 7, the food and drinks they eat has like feminine hormones that deform the genetic material of these kids, rendering the males feminine and also the females sterile in the long run. Number 8, they are being marginalized. Number 9, always teach them their roots and background as Africans, not Europeans. Number 10, most of them are confused and don't even know where they belong because on their passport they are Europeans, but in reality they are not treated as such. They don't enjoy all the privileges as Europeans because of their skin color. Number 11, they can only be instilled or inculcated the African culture and tradition by living in Africa, not just being taught by their parents here in Europe. 12, experience is the greatest teacher. Let them go to Africa and experience the lifestyle there in Africa and the culture. It is a solid foundation and the first need of every child. There is a saying that a man without a culture is like a tree without roots. 13, most of them are so aggressive here in Europe because they lack physical contact with loved ones. They are not accepted in the country they call their own. They are frustrated and confused in the end of the day. Number 14, it's the place of the parents to tell these kids the truth of their origin. Number 15, parents, keep aside your pride and accept the reality. Even if your child is given double European nationality, he or she will never enjoy all the privileges as such. Number 16, They are being segregated and despised and relegated, insulted and even assaulted in their schools because of their skin colors. 17. Sometimes the teachers deliberately make the kids feel stupid, dumb, and dull just because they don't want the child to end up in privileged schools and, of course, having privileged jobs in the future. 18. How many kids born here in Europe have you seen end up having prestigious and noble jobs and having sumptuous careers? Most often, they are the ones coming from Africa directly as students. 19. They are like bewildered birds being caught in between two spotlights of an upcoming car. They are being confused. They don't know which path to take. 20. Your enemy or your neighbor or your slave master can never raise your kids better than you. Remember, this same system is responsible for Africa's impoverishment or poverty. Yet, you expect them to give you or your children the best. Let me remind us of, lest we forget, the days are coming and the days are yet now when we will all understand that we have been working or doing slavery for the past decades here in Europe. They give you money and well-paid jobs and confiscate your spiritual and cultural identity and liberty.
Having your kids in Germany doesn't make them automatically Germans, contrary to what a lot of people think, just like we have in the US or the UK. So if you're thinking of having kids in Germany or you already have kids, then you gotta stop scrolling and watch this. There are some cases where your child could be German or not. So the first case is this. When a German man gets married to a foreign woman, they have a baby together, their baby is automatically German. Whereas the woman, the mother of the child, is entitled to the paragraph 28 residency permit. She can then become German if they have been married for at least 2 years and she has been living in Germany for at least 3 years. When a German citizen is in a partnership, like they're just in a relationship with a foreign woman, and then they have no intentions whatsoever of getting married, they have a child together, this child automatically becomes German. Whereas the mother, as a result of having this child for the German man, is also entitled to receive the paragraph 28 residency permit. With regards to becoming naturalized, they can do this with the new law. So for the 3-year timeline, if they have a C1 level German as well as other documents required, then they can go ahead to apply for the citizenship. Whereas for the 5-year timeline, if they have a B1 level as well as other documents required, they can go ahead to be naturalized. Now the next case is for those who have received a permanent residency permit. If he or she gets married to and has a baby with a foreigner, their child automatically becomes German, whereas this other foreigner is entitled to the paragraph 28 residency permit. Are you with me? Let's keep working together. Now the next case is for two foreigners who have no German citizenship status. They just have the normal residency permit, which they have to renew every year or every 2 years, as the case may be. Take, for example, a student and a full-time employee in Germany. When they have a child together, or they get married and they have a child together, then their child is entitled to the paragraph 33 residency permit. The next case is a child born to refugee parents. When a child is born to two parents who have sought asylum in Germany, then that child also becomes a refugee like his parents. In summary, a child born to a German parent is automatically a German. A child born to a parent who has the permanent residency permit in Germany is automatically German. A child born to a parent or to parents who have the ordinary residency permit that gets renewed every year or every 2 years is entitled to the paragraph 33 residency permit. And lastly, a child born to refugee parents takes the status of his parents and becomes a refugee as well. I'm sure you have a couple of questions here. Leave them in the comment sections and we'll be more than glad to answer them. Don't forget to save this video and share it with your friends.
This guy has really given a lot of information about Africa and how things really happen down here. I know some people will be so much discouraged. Imagine how much Africans are always drowning in the Mediterranean just because they want to get to Europe and have that good life. And this one here is a man who has lived in Europe and is saying the contrary. You know, sometimes when you are told the grass is really not greener on the other side, I think it's best to listen. You don't need to experience it because experience can be so much pain. You know, the goal is to reach the truth. That is the goal. And we have two routes of reaching the truth. You can either use experience to reach that route, or you can either use logic and reasoning to reach the truth. Logic and reasoning is a form of bypassing experience and getting to the truth. That is what this man is trying to tell Africans who are dying to get to Europe. Parents who are dying for their children to go to Europe and have that, you know, that language, that English, the white man's English of speaking. That is what they want their children to have. But now if these W man's language, you understand what I mean, at the expense of corrupting your moral values, we are living in the society where the more fluent you are in English, the more intelligent you are. If you are fluent in your mother tongue, you are not intelligent, you're foolish, according to Africans, many of us that is. If you are fluent in Swahili, Swahili is an African language in the East African region of Africa. I have my mother tongue, my Nilotic language. In primary schools, we have teachers teaching this. In the primary schools in the rural region, they are teaching mother tongue. We also have Swahili subjects being taught because Africans, we don't want to lose our value. Instead of just having education, we want to preserve our value as well. But the people we are living with in the society don't care about Swahili, don't care about mother tongue. They want their children to speak fluent English, but at the expense of their moral values. This man has explained very many reasons not to force yourself into Africa, not to force yourself into countries of Europe, not to force yourself or to force your children to live in a country that will corrupt their moral value by the end. Okay, it's good to visit any country. It's good to visit. I love traveling. I love it. One day I can go to Europe as well. But taking my son or my daughter to live there since their early childhood until they become adults, no. Africa still has that moral value. It's not as corrupted as the ones we have in Europe. Let me ask you something. All these illnesses, all these bad things, the moral corruption, where does it come from? Who starts those wars? Who starts them? Where does it come from? It comes from the source. Now if you take your daughter or your son and you bring them to such a place, the land of the colonizer, the person who colonized you, the person who colonized you will not allow himself be ruled by you who is a slave and was colonized by him. You get it? But parents are not thinking that way. Parents are thinking, no, my son has to speak fluent English. I have to show off my daughter to the people of to my ancestors, to my uncles, to all that, so that they can see my daughter is fluent and all that. But at what expense? At what expense are you doing all this? Africans, we should ask ourselves this question. It's good to visit, it's good to work. Those guys have good G's, they have good money. But go there at least if your moral system has been built up in Africa. Moral systems are built up in two places, in homes and in schools. At home, the moral system is built by the parents. At school, it's built by the teachers and the school's moral value. Now, if the schools themselves are allowing things like LGBTQ, you know, the rainbow community are being allowed there and they're telling children we have more than two genders. What kind of place is that you want to take your child? Just ask yourself. Ask yourself. Africa is not a burden. God placed us here for a good reason. And I think instead of complaining, we should come back and say, enyewe, God is wise to have placed us here. If you want to go to Europe, by any means possible, go. I'm not stopping you. I don't even have the power to stop you from going to wherever place you want to go. But for the sake of tomorrow, for the sake of our children, let us preserve the African value. Let us teach our children the African values. That is the message in this video. I'm going to end it here, and kindly, if you have any thoughts in the comment section, be sure to give out. And if you have any question, comment section still, you want to support the channel, check me on my Patreon. I'll so much appreciate. PayPal is there. Support your boy. I so much appreciate. It's not even about supporting me. It's about the message. Please, may the message reach to you. Yeah. See you in the next one, guys.